Now we really have to move to the next session. That's on the call for proposals for technical assistance for replication projects. And I would like to call my colleague Anna Klenowsek from CINEA, and she will also be assisted by Anne Burrell, who we've seen already this morning, head of unit life environment. And without further ado, I will pass the floor to Anna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. I hope you can hear me well.
Sorry, Anna. Yeah. Sorry, I just forgot to say, that I would like to invite our audience to please go to Slido at the end of each session. So also on the session of strategic projects. Sorry, Anna, about that. And please let us know what you thought about this session, including the question and answers. You will find the poll on Slido, still slido.com. With the hashtag EULife24. So the poll is still open. Please take just a couple of seconds to go and tell us what you think about, what you thought about this session. Sorry, Anna, for the interruption. Go on.
No problem at all, Eva. Good afternoon, everyone, for the last session of the day. I hope you're not already too tired and that you can still bear with me for another 10 or 15 minutes to take you through the presentation on technical assistance for replication call that was published for the first time last year. And so this year is the second round we're doing it. So last year we took it a bit as an experiment to see, how the applicants will respond to it. And then based on these experiences, we decided to introduce some changes for this year. So even if you know the call and if you applied last year, I mean, you should really listen to it carefully to this presentation, because there are some important changes to the call and the content. Next slide, please. So yeah, last year we received 9 proposals, out of which we proposed 2 for financing, which we can agree that the results were not optimal. So we didn't use the best, we didn't use all the available budget, which was not ideal. So we realized that some additional clarifications were needed. And that we should probably present better what we expect from the applicants. Next slide, please. So here I would like to go a few steps back. So to sort of remind everyone what the role of the LIFE program is. So we see LIFE projects producing and demonstrating solutions which can then ideally be applied more broadly across the entire Europe. The budget we have for the LIFE program is not enormous. So for us, it's very important that the solutions are then replicated or upscaled. And this was basically the idea of this technical assistance for replication call. So to facilitate this uptake and to ensure that LIFE has the biggest impact possible. So this projects should basically should overcome obstacles to this replication or uptake. Here I refer to LIFE projects, because basically a technical assistance for replication proposals, they should be based on either LIFE projects, previous LIFE projects, or projects that were implemented with other EU funding programs. So it's both options are possible. But if the projects, if the proposals are based on projects implemented through other EU funding programs, in that case, they should of course be in line with the LIFE objectives. Next slide, please. So this is very basic. What we would like to see in a TAR proposal, I mean, the 2 main components is that you identify this obstacle, this issue that is blocking the replication or the upscale. So this can be either regulation blocking it, norms, lack of financing, maybe even fake news. And then we would like to see you to present in details how will your project address this? How will it help to overcome this issue? So among other things, this I would say would be the two most important components of your proposal. Next slide. So comparing the call document, that should be probably, let's say, your Bible if you want to apply for this call. And we made some big changes to the scope part of the call document. So this year we put a lot of emphasis on the words facilitation, support, assistance, because we really want to make sure that the call is properly understood. So these projects proposals should provide assistance and support. They should help. So they should not be just small standard action projects, but they should really sort of help and guide. So for instance, to give you some examples, the proposals could help with removing legislative or regulatory barriers that prevent replication. For instance, they could be making modifications to permitting regulations, either national or local, to allow broader use of technologies, innovative technologies that were recently developed and were not yet considered at the time of drafting those regulations. Or proposals for TARs, they could be assisting with removing barriers, technical or other barriers, that are blocking replication of results. For instance, if you see as a barrier fake news, you could propose implementing broad communication schemes or campaigns that would be convincing certain stakeholders, groups like maybe consumers, of the appropriateness of some novel solutions. Or maybe if you see the issue is lack of knowledge, then you could be proposing capacity building or awareness raising for certain stakeholder groups that might need that. You could also be replicating or upscaling project results, but in that case, we don't want you just to basically do the same elsewhere, but we want you to focus really on the steps. So basically providing enabling the path towards the replication and not doing the replication itself. You could also work on facilitating the access to other EU or non-EU financial instruments. So in case that you think there is lack of awareness about potential funding opportunities, that could also be giving advice through some advisory services, for instance. Next slide, please. What is still the same as during the last year's call? So the call is open under one topic for nature and biodiversity and circular economy and quality of life projects. So energy and climate-related proposals are still not eligible. Next slide. And what is still staying the same is the available budget. So we're going to have this year as well 6.5 million euros with a maximum EU co-financing of 60% and maximum EU contribution per project of 1 million, which could allow us to finance 6 to 12 projects maximum. The award criteria is also staying the same with relevance, impact that it's weighting 1.5, quality and resources, and there will be no bonus points. So basically the information on the slides are the same as the ones in the last year's call. Next slide, please. Well, here there are some changes. So in case you are thinking of applying or maybe even resubmitting your last year's proposal application, be aware that we decided to change the application form. So last year we used the one from standard action projects, which maybe in our opinion also led a bit to some, misled maybe a bit the applicants a bit. So this year we decided to use the simpler version that is also used in calls PLP and BEST, and we limited the page limit to 50 pages. The applicants will also need to submit a detailed budget table and the participant info. Also obligatory is the part C, so the KPIs, but this year we asked the applicants to submit a bit of a simpler so-called standard version, so a bit simpler than we requested last year. The applicants can still submit letters of support, however, these are not mandatory this year anymore. Next slide. So yeah, the call was opened last week together with the other calls, and this year we decided to extend a bit the deadline, so we are closing it together with other calls too after summer on 18th of September. And we plan to notify the applicants beginning of 2025 and then sign the grants with the successful applicants in spring, in March or April 2025. Next slide. So this was quickly everything from my side. I know we still have some time to answer some questions if there are any. I think I also have Anne Baril, the head of unit, with me to help me out if needed.
The first question is about whether the TAR are related to only to previous projects.
Yeah, I mean, I think I addressed this in one of the slides. So basically, yes, the proposals, they should be based on preceding EU-funded project, either LIFE projects or other EU-funded projects, as I said. So either EU-funded projects that are in line with LIFE objectives, that is. So ideally, the coordinator of the previous preceding project would be also coordinating the TAR project, but exceptionally, we would also accept if the previous coordinator would be in the project consortium.
Thank you very much, Anna. And now we also see them. So this you have answered. The second question is really tricky, and I don't think you actually have an answer there, but could you give an example of a good TAR project? Bit too early, no, to talk about this?
To give an example of it, yeah, please, Anne, take it over, yeah.
Yeah, I say, what I can do is give you some ideas we have. We do not yet have operational projects, but as Anna emphasized, what we are doing is looking for projects that somehow overcome some kind of barrier or some kind of obstacle to broad replication of the results of a previous project. So perhaps we had a previous project that introduced some and tested and demonstrated some very good agroecological technique. It was good for the environment, good for biodiversity, and also was good for the farmer. But we see that this is a technique that for some reason is not under the scope of any of the CAP programs. Now, perhaps what a TAR project could do would be to go in and see how either the CAP or other types of support to farmers could be changed and updated to take into consideration this new technique. So here the obstacle would be a lack of subsidies, lack of support for the replication as compared to traditional agricultural techniques. And the solution would be to try to go in and work with some of those programs, work with public authorities to help improve the possibilities for farmers to take on board these techniques that were developed and tested in the previous project. Another example might be you might have some kind of project which has developed some new processing technique, perhaps a technique for processing waste and turning it into post-waste materials that one would want to reuse. And we can all see that the results are environmentally good. We can all see that they're actually economically good because it costs less to reuse materials than to use virgin materials. But in a lot of places, the legislation and the regulations and the norms related to post-waste materials needs updating, needs amending, because perhaps right now there would be regulations to say, no, you can't use that material for this new use. So the TAR project would go in to try to work with the authorities to modify regulations, modify legislation, so that it's actually possible for people to use this new material, this new post-industrial non-waste, this thing that's no longer waste, but is a resource. But right now there's a barrier, and the TAR would try to overcome that barrier. So in all cases, we're trying to find ways that the results of old life projects or environmental projects from other EU programs can actually be used more broadly, that they can be replicated on a broad scale. We do not want to finance, and this is perhaps touching on the next question, we're not proposing under TAR to finance the one-on-one replication of the result of a project. If what you want to do is replicate a successful standard action project, well, what you're doing then is a new standard action project. So you should be applying under the standard action project call. So that is not a TAR project. A TAR project is something that's facilitating the future uptake, the future replication by removing barriers to that replication or uptake.
Thank you very much, Anne. And I mean, there is another question down there that I hope we will get to, because it's very interesting to link it to this reply of yours. And now we tick the boxes for 2 questions, so we can get to the next one, whether you can upscale a project that you were not previously involved in and it had received other EU funding. So I understand, not a live project.
Yes, I mean, it is correct that both according to the regulation and the call, it does not need to be a life project per se. It must have been a project that received EU funding, and it must fall within the scope of the life program. So it must be a project that was aiming towards the kind of objectives of life projects.
Fitting into the life objectives, but not necessarily having been financed by life until now.
Financed by another EU program. It must have been financed by EU funding.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we go to the next. Could an optimization of a prototype be considered as a TAR project?
I think this, well, this one's hard to say because it would depend what is meant by optimization. Again, if the problem is some kind of, I mean, for instance, you have a prototype and it relies on a supply chain of some raw materials, and this supply chain of the raw materials limits its applicability. Perhaps working on overcoming that problem of the supply chain. I say perhaps because it would really, it'd be something that would need to be looked at in the evaluation. But if there's a clear obstacle, and it's not just a technical development, which is a continuation of the project, no, that wouldn't be. But if there's something which is kind of broader, and if you can get around this technical obstacle, it would lead to the possibility of broad replication, maybe. But of course, that prototype must have somehow been financed under EU finance in the past.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we read the next. So, can partners be part of a live project, so one that it's open at the moment, and participate for a TAR project? I guess the short answer is yes, actually. Anna?
Well, we said that the preceding project should be finalized before the TAR would start, right? So this is sort of the rule we have. So I guess if they plan to submit an application, they can already do it. But I think they should make sure that the previous project is finished before the new one starts.
But I think that potentially that what is hidden here is that you might have an organization which is at the same time, let's say, the organization that has closed the previous live project, for which there will be a TAR taking the lessons learned, and at the same time, the same organization has another live project going on, which this could happen.
Yeah. Of course, absolutely.
Right? I mean, the one that is going to be replicated has to be finished by the time it starts, the TAR starts. But as for many replies this morning, and Beryl, correct me if I'm wrong, the same organization might have more than one project ongoing, as long as they keep the finance very well controlled, like Anne Vermalen would have added.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, length. For how long? 2 years, 3 years, it is expected to be developed. The maximum budget is 1 million. Is there a limitation in partnership or number of countries? Anna?
Yeah, that's always a tricky question, right? I mean, they should explain in the application like how many years do they think they need. The maximum budget, the maximum EU contribution is 1 million, right? So the maximum budget can be higher. There is no limit there, but also there's also no limitation in partnership. There can be just one organization submitting the proposal, or there can be plenty. Same with countries. I mean, it has to make sense. It has to be the best for reaching the results they want to reach, for the objectives. And that's it. Regarding the length, I think we have limited it to maximum 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, up. But there is no limit on the other end. So.
Thank you, Anna. So, next question is whether they can see previous TAR projects. I see Anne nodding. I mean, not nodding, saying no.
No, because this is a new type of project.
Yeah, we started just last year, so they need the time to implement a little bit at least. And they're very few.
Nothing to see yet.
Not yet. Yes. And then, so we're really close to the end. When you said the TAR are follow-up on previous projects, are the projects developed under Interreg included too? Yes, we gave the reply. Interreg as an EU funding. For example, Interreg 2C that already finished last year. Yes. But perhaps you have a but now. Can we apply for a follow-up of one of these projects? I wouldn't call it follow-up, right? That sounds already wrong.
Exactly.
Yes, I've learned this from you. So tell me something about it. Anna?
You can reply yourself, Julia, almost. Yeah, exactly. We should not call it a follow-up. But I mean, in the preceding project, they should probably identify some barriers, some issues to this, to replicating the results further, or that are preventing the upscale. So based on that, they should then propose solutions under this TAR. So solutions to further replication or upscale, but not just doing a replication, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. So the example of previous projects we don't have yet, so we won't spend time for this. If phytosanitary registration is the only obstacle to put a successful product developed under life on the market, would such registration be fundable as a TAR?
I think we'd have to look at the application. I have to say, honestly, I don't know enough about phytosanitary registration. If it's just a normal administrative procedure and it's really not anything particularly complex, then I think we would probably say it's not, a great value for money. If, however, there's a difficulty with the phytosanitary registrative process, that the new product is not recognized in any way and doesn't follow the rules and perhaps goes against some of the principles because the principles were established at a different time without taking into account newer developments, then possibly. So this is a maybe answer.
Thank you very much. And then now we are talking calendar. I know it's changed. This is the one that I thought it was interesting. Can a TAR be used to remove a barrier to enable a standard action project application in the same call in parallel? or would the replication standard action project take place in the next call? Oh,
If I understand that, I'm not sure I understand the question right, but a TAR should be removing a barrier from a completed project. So if you have
exactly.
an SAP application in the present call, it's a little hard to see how you would be doing a TAR application at the same time. So I think the answer is probably no.
I think what they want to say is that probably they want to use the TAR to remove some barrier, and then they would use another sub-project to do this replication or the upscale or something like this, which, I mean, it would also be difficult. Possible, but I mean, you would probably need some time, right, to sort of overcome that barrier. So to apply at exactly the same time, I would find it a bit tricky, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, probably, I mean, if the obstacle is significant enough that you need a TAR to remove it, it's probably going to take a couple of years. So yeah, probably the replication per se would be in a future stage. Probably. I mean, we'd have to, obviously we'd have to look, and as we've said, we're still learning about what kind of projects really fit this type of project. It was established in the regulation, but we're now trying to make it a reality. And we're going to learn a little bit as we go based on the type of applications we get, because we're hoping we're going to see a lot of creative ideas, things that we haven't even thought of. And, then we'll have to see how the rules apply to them. And perhaps that will further inform the development of next year's call also. And by then, maybe we'll have some examples.
Indeed. And when we will have the example, we will actually have them published on the live public database. They will be there together with the other project and together with the other examples. I really invite you to go and have a look of which type of projects have already been financed under the other categories, because actually one of them could be replicated in a TAR, for example. You could really look at what was already done in certain sectors, and you could reach out to those that were responsible for those projects back then. I mean, there is a database with over 6,000 projects. Not all of them should be replicated in a way under this call, but there is certainly good ideas that would need a push for the future. So let me highlight the next question. It's again on the calendar to be very sure. So can you apply for a TAR and the previous project is due to be finished by your start date? What happens, Anna, if the original is delayed for any reason, or should it be finished by grant agreement?
Yeah, I mean, to apply and with these tight deadlines, I mean, I don't know. I think the rule that should be that the project is finished. I mean, I don't know how to exactly to reply, I mean, I think the previous one should be completed, done, and then you move on. Because also, until it's really done, you don't exactly know if, those barriers persist or not. So yeah, maybe better to wait until the very end and then see how to continue.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we know by experience that project never ends really sharp.
Well, I think if there's any doubt about the previous project finishing, I think you should hold off the TAR for a year, because as the authorizing officer for these grants, if I find a situation like that, I'll suspend the TAR project until the other project is finished. They're not going to run in parallel, no.
Yeah. And you need a certain level of maturity for a project to also be able to write probably a very good application for a TAR, no?
Yeah.
But okay, I think these are really our last two questions that we will take, because our time is over, but okay, we took a little bit more, and I'm reading it for you. Would a project to identify sustainable funding sources, overcome political barriers, and lay the groundwork for upscaling for a citizen science initiative previously funded by the European Commission via Horizon Europe count for a TAR project?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, if it's really for upscaling and broad application, and those are really significant barriers, yeah, that sounds like a possibility. As long as it's not just a one-on-one replication, that there was a citizen science project done in one place and the idea is to replicate in one other place, because no, that would not be. But if it's to provide technical assistance to overcome these various barriers with the idea of a broad rollout, sure, that might work.
Yeah, and as it is mentioning Horizon Europe generally, of course, as long as it is within the objective of the Life Environment Program. All right, and here we go to the very last one. I like it to finish with this one. It's a bit of a provocation, but really relevant. From Eric, changing legislation takes a lot of time. Is this realistic under a TAR project?
Well, I would say that the application should set out what is realistic in a few years, and maybe you wouldn't actually aim to have the final change to the legislation, but to have done all of the preparatory work, to have submitted a legislative proposal. Obviously, it depends where, what scale this is being done at, but I mean, I think it's realistic to set clear objectives that are moving towards the removal of the barrier. And I think if it's clearly defined what the objective would be, and it's clear that this is a significant step to removing the barrier, I think it could possibly be a TAR.
Thank you.
You have up to 5 years, though. We said it's up to 5 years. So that's, you can do a lot in 5 years.
Indeed. So thank you very much, Anna and Anne, for this. This session is over. I'll hand the floor to Eva to close the day. And yes, I'll see you tomorrow for the additional question and answer session that we will have in the afternoon. It's remember, we will basically try to answer all those questions that we didn't answer through the session. That's the goal of that session. Bye from my side. Eva, the floor is yours, and then I wish a nice afternoon to everybody.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear speakers, and thanks to all the speakers of the day. I just wanted to close today's information sessions with just a few reminders. Well, first of all, what I forgot in the previous session, there is a poll that we want you to take part in, to tell us what you thought about this last session on calls for proposals for technical assistance replication projects. So please take just a few moments to go back to Slido and reply to this very simple question. How would you rate this this session? Thank you very much in advance for your feedback. Then I would like to let you know that now we will open the networking platform. As you may know, you as participants will be able now, from now and until the end of September, to meet virtually other potential applicants. And that's a great opportunity, I think, for you to prospect future partnerships and even to think about consortia to apply jointly for life funding. So I would really warmly encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, to encode your profile as detailed as possible in the registration platform, the website where you have registered, and where you can also find all the other stakeholders and all the other potential applicants, and plan one-to-one meetings. I think this is a great opportunity, and I think it's a pity that so far very few actually of our future applicants have taken this opportunity. But I'm confident that you will start now setting up a lot of one-to-one meetings on this virtual networking platform. I would also like to remind you that this can be used not only to meet other potential applicants, but also national contact points. National contact points are there in each country to support future per present applicants for life funding, and therefore this is also nice to know that they are there to help you, and you can meet them on this platform. So please don't hesitate to request a meeting with your national contact point. I would like to just give you a few figures, because today you were more than 1,300 persons who followed us today for this first information day. And I want to thank you all for your attention and for your great participation through Slido. And in total, we had we have in total for the 4 days almost 1,700 participants already registered. And I wanted to remind you that you can still register for the future information sessions of this event. So as a reminder, tomorrow we will have a lot of presentations on the calls for proposals for standard action projects under 3 sub-programs of LIFE. Which are the call for proposals for climate action, calls for proposals for circular economy and quality of life, and a call for proposals for nature and biodiversity. And there will be, of course, as today, a lot of time for questions and answers, and a lot of time for networking. So I would now close the session, thank again all the participants, and tell you goodbye and see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day, and thanks again. Bye-bye.